Like everything that you've ever thought, like just flip it on its head. And I guarantee you your life will completely shift. Last night I had a dream about masculine and feminine, and it was so cool because I saw it at the different air sign levels, if that makes sense. So like I was the Gemini, like in there with my multiple selves exchanging energy. And then at the Libra part, it was like looking at like the emotion. It was like glitter almost, like coming off of this person to going to that person and going to this person and that person. Like this glitter was just coming off of the people. And then at the Aquarius stage, I just saw the balancing of masculine and feminine energy, which is like one of the main things about being here in Grounded Spirits is how can we balance this energy so that we can have the structure and have the security and the safety while having fun, having that feminine energy flow. And so I was reading this book, the one from last week, and they started talking about Jung. Carl Jung was a famous Swiss psychologist. A lot of people like to say that he's like the rival to Freud because Freud took a very negative approach, and we'll get into it later. Whereas Jung, he looked at the positive. He was like very optimistic, and he thought that our dreams contained the secrets for ultimate fulfillment. So in my mind right now, oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts. Like I have so many thoughts that I don't know what to talk about, and so then it just ends up coming out like garbage because I'm like, oh, but this one. I feel like, you know, like those old timey telephone operators where they would actually literally have to connect the line for you. Like that's how I feel. I feel like I had this huge board with so many options, and I'm just like blah, 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 and I'm like trying to come up with the best solution, but it's in real time, and so I get nervous because there's so many options, so I'm just like everywhere, you know. But the whole point, so my South Node is in Gemini, and so that's why I feel this way. And so I guess like my whole life's purpose is to be able to consolidate this mass amount of information that I contain to get one single thread, and this thread will be like this through line to help people on the journey to gain all of it. Like people, like I have too much and other people don't have enough, and that's why I've always had this like weird thing where like I have like this like ego trip where I feel like people perceive me as superior, and so then but then I feel awkward. I feel like that's not socially acceptable to feel superior. So then I like try to dumb myself down because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. So like my whole thing was like, how do I pump in all of this knowledge that's in my head? And even like saying that is like cringe to me because I'm like don't tell everybody that you know too much because like I don't know, then you'll be like a know-it-all and you'll be an outcast and it just like spirals, you know. But it's like not even about that. It's really about how do I take this vast amount of knowledge and streamline it so that it's accessible for everybody. Yeah, because it's like for like my data, let's say I have like a 100 million terabyte computer in my brain, whereas other people don't even have 512 megabytes. You know what I mean? And it's like yes, oh my gosh, I just like completely figured everything out. So I just I figured everything out, and then it like completely just like vanished because I had this like weird thing about being a performer versus being my normal self. And like when I get in front of a camera, I like, oh my gosh, like I have to like, you know. But when it's just me, like I'm just chilling. But the whole point about Grounded Spirits is that I want it to be like a chill place, like that graphic that you saw when you clicked this video, like our logo. It's 3 girls chilling under a tree on water, and like they're sitting on water. And it could be like one of those like the desert salt places where it looks like it's water but it's just salt, so you could actually sit on it and have that like that reflective thing. But in my head it's like actually water, because it's like grounded spirits with the mountains on top and then the river flowing through. I didn't really explain that last time very well, that our new set is actually out here in nature, because what better way to be grounded than to be in nature and to like have this connection. And it was so cool because coming down the mountain on my little hike to get here, I was like having this like connection with nature and just like really telling it like I trust you so much, and just like showering it with my love, and just like being so thankful for like bringing, like attracting me here, like the place where I had to park, but also the place like here where I'm at. Like nature really led the way here. So it was just so special coming down. And then nature, like in my head, said that that's all that they ever wanted. That's the whole reason why civilization is the way that it is, because nature wanted to know, do we actually, as humans, do we actually love nature for being nature, or were we just in nature because we had to be? I think I'm talking about Native Americans specifically, because I'm always thinking this, like, how did they not advance technologically as European nations? Because I know they're just as smart as European nations, but how come in Europe we had like the industrial age, and I think a little before that actually when this whole thing happened, but you know what I mean? Like, how did Europe, let's just use like Oxford University for instance, a whole university, like a whole structure, like the architect, like the being inside versus outside, that predates the Aztec civilization. Like that's just like mind blowing. And then you hear all the time that natives have been on this like specifically this land that I'm on right now for tens of thousands of years. Yet we only really know 2,000 years, maybe 3, if we're lucky, 10 years back on like civilization scale. So I'm like, how can you say that people have, like, I've never understood that. So if you know, please let me know, because I honestly don't know. But anyway, the whole point is that for grounded spirits, like the logo, it's about having that water and that mountain. So having the mountain be its majestic mountain self, the masculine energy, and have the feminine have its majestic self as being fluid and being able to go, and trusting that the earth underneath it will take care of it. So anyway, so I was coming down, and so that was what nature was saying, like that it all just comes back to them really, or to she, if we're saying Mother Nature, you know, that she just wanted to know that you loved her for her, and not because you were forced to. Because natives had a good life, you know, being in nature. And the Aztec civilization made so many mathematic and scientific discoveries, but they didn't have that separation from nature. And that's why the Europeans thought that they were savage, because it was savage in the ancient, not ancient, but in the old meaning versus the now meaning. But yeah, it was savage to live in the land, to like be one with nature. Like that was just like so mind blowing, because humans, or Europeans, were like, to be modern is to move further away from nature, to show our superiority of nature, and to say that we are bigger and better than nature. And I think nature had to be like, bet, like, okay, if that's what you think, then I guess, like, what do you want me to do about that? If you think you're so superior, like, go for it. That's literally what nature did. And that's why, like, I keep hearing like, just let them. If people are going to make fun of you, people are going to be mean to you, people are going to do this, people are going to do that, let them. But you can't help but get hurt, you know? Like, if someone's being mean to you or not supportive or whatever, like, you can't help but, like, it stings a little, right? But I think, yeah, like, that's like what we have to listen to nature, and nature has said that for centuries now. Let them. If they want to destroy everything, build up all these places, step away from us, let them, because we only want the people that are seeking us too, because we don't want to force anybody to love us. We want to be loved for being ourselves. And that's why people do come here. People do hike. People do surf. People do connect with nature in their own ways. But there are also a lot of people that don't. And so that's why, like, with this, like, new age spiritual movement, and I would even say just in society, like, I don't even think it's, like, only for the spirituals. I think it's just, like, across the board at this point, where we're realizing that we can't live without nature, that we're always going to need nature. And I think it's also going with that great mother archetype that we're going to get to with Jung in a little bit. But that's the whole point of grounded spirits, is to be in the land, to be connecting with nature. And then it's so cool because I have 3 girls on there. And at the time when I created that logo, I thought it's just like the 3 sides of me. And so I like, since I'm an astrologer, well, not since, I think it's just me, a me thing, but I like to think about, like, okay, like, what would my Aquarius self say about this, which is my rising sign? What would my Sagittarius self say about this? And then what would my Leo self say about this, which is my sun sign? But yeah, like, now that I'm reading about Jung and his archetypes, they said that the Great Mother is the Virgin, the Mother, and the Crone, right? Side note, did you know that there was a Great Father and they have the 3 too? Like, I thought it was just a girl thing, but no. The guy is the Prince, the Father, and the Hermit. So I thought that was, like, mind-blowing. But anyway, so now I'm thinking that it's those 3, the Great Mother ones, that the 3 that are on that thing. But anyway, the whole point is that I just, like, have really wanted to create that experience. Like, if it was like you and me, like, out there chilling under the tree, on the water, staring at the mountains, watching the sunset. And so I think that's, like, why it's a sunset too, is because it's the inner world. Like, that's what we're doing here in Grounded Spirits. We're figuring out how to balance the inner world so then the outer world can, like, pop off, skyrocket, and make all your dreams come true. Because that's the coolest thing, is that we all have our own individual dreams. That it's not like, oh, like, I want to do this, and it doesn't mean that you can't do it too, because you're going to do it differently because you have a different perspective than me. So, like, we can both do it. Like, there's no competition. Like, and if anything, we should be helping each other if we have similar goals, you know? So it's just, like, wild how this whole, like, inner self works. So that's, like, what this whole point about Grounded Spirits is. Like, I want to, like, take all of that, like, outer knowledge, which is what we're doing by getting all of these books and stuff. I actually have a new book for us today, so I'm gonna show it to you now. I can't wait. It's called Mother Peace, and it says A Way to the Goddess Through Myth, Art, and Tarot. And it's just so cool because with the archetypes, she talks about Jung too. So I was like, oh my gosh, so cool. And it's also with the whole mother thing about, like, bringing out that feminine energy, because again, that's the water of Grounded Spirits, which is why I thought it was so funny when I first found this place, that it literally is Grounded Spirits. You can't really see it too much right now, but the mountains are up there, and then there's this river that used to be a lot larger, and now it's, like, down to a stream, but there's still water. But, like, I could just picture it having all of the water here. And even, like, right here, I know it's off camera, but there's, like, a bunch of rocks in their formation. Like, you can just see the water that would come down and go down to the river. And I think that nature is mirroring what we've been doing in society as far as pushing down feminine energy and exalting masculine energy, when we're trying to balance that too. So the fact that I'm out here trying to balance my masculine and feminine, just had a whole dream about it. and I'm in a place where the feminine energy is needed. It's just like so cool, like very meta. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to start with Freud, just so that we can look at what was done before. Fun fact, Carl Jung was a student of Freud's for a little bit. So that's pretty cool. But it also shows like the evolution of thinking, that going like from the negative to the positive. I think that every family has probably had this kind of conversation, or like maybe not had the conversation, maybe you had it in your head. But the fact that the previous generations are so negative, and I think that's why it's so hard for us to follow our dreams, because we have to think positively or else our dreams wouldn't come true. And so we're getting all this negativity from our families, but it's not because they are trying to be mean or like they don't believe in you and stuff. It's really because it's just been like drummed into them that this is a bad thing to be. It's better to be pessimistic and be prepared than to be optimistic. And that's it. Like that's where they ended. But for us, it's like, no, you can be optimistic and prepared. You can do both. All right. So Freud. So like I said, Freud was about the negativity. And so if you remember from last time, we talked about St. Augustine, and he was like really afraid of his dreams because he's like, can God punish me for what goes on in my dream? Like if I have a sex dream, am I going to get punished for it? Like, is that something that I need to confess to or like feel guilty for? But we've talked about it before, where you can't have any any guilt or shame about things, because as long as we're learning from it and growing from it, then it's okay. If we do the same things over and over again and we still feel like guilt and shame, then I feel like that's more of a societal thing. I think it really has to come from within. But anyway, so Freud was really the first one to take like the inner world seriously. And so what he called it was the unconscious versus the conscious self. So Freud was saying that we think we know like a whole tree worth of knowledge, but that's only one tree of the whole forest. And so why don't we want to know the whole forest? Like, why do we only want to know one tree? You know? So Freud was really the first one to do that, but he thought it, and honestly, he was probably right. Like I'm saying, like, oh, he's so negative, but he probably, what he was looking at was negative, because what he was looking at, the unconscious, the subconscious, all of that, the inner world, he was looking at everything that people have repressed, all of the trauma, all of the hatred for the self. He was unlocking, I just want to keep using the word trauma, but like, he was unlocking so much pain and so much hurt and so much shame and so much guilt and so much fear. Oh my gosh, he unlocked so much fear. So honestly, he is pretty brilliant to even take this world seriously. Yeah. Because I'm over here thinking that like my PhD is going to look at the inner world and the outer world, and like, how can we use the knowledge from the outer world in the inner world, which is a lot of what we do here on Grounded Spirit. So I think this was like my test run. And now I want to see, oh my gosh, that's actually so cute. So me being a scholar, being a researcher, I did this work through looking at outer knowledge and converting it into inner knowledge. So what I want to know is, who else is out there that's like me? And so what I'm doing is I'm interviewing people, professors actually. They're going to do like a survey, and then I'm going to do an oral history to understand if they did if they're doing what I'm doing, like using their outer knowledge to inform their inner world. So understanding, does somebody in the humanities, do they have the same understanding of their inner world as somebody in math? That's literally what I'm looking at. Like, is there a difference there? And then, just like putting together the puzzle of like, what do we know? What does the inner world mind landscape look like? And we'll get into that when I talk about Jung. But with Jung, he started to do what I'm trying to do now. where he was saying that through our dreams that there has to be a collective unconscious. I'm saying is, can we use outer knowledge to do that? And that's what I'm going to be piecing together, what everyone else is saying, and piecing it together to see, like, okay, this is the map. This is what we know by using inner to outer knowledge, whereas Jung did it with dreams, using dreams to understand this world. I want to see, has the outer world, can we reflect it back to itself to look at it? Whoa, that's literally what I'm doing. So so as above, so below, everything's a mirror. So I'm like, okay, so let's take the mirror and look into the other side. That's what I'm doing. It's so cool because I've been thinking about this for like the last 2 years, like intimately for the last 2 years. And I feel like I just reached the mountaintop. I feel like it's like all coming together. But the thing about me is, not only did I leave no stones unturned, I also, like, if this is the mountain, I like went back and forth. I wanted to know every single thing about this mountain, every single thing, no stone unturned, you know. And I did. And so now I can, like, I'm up there seeing it, which is what my dream is about. I just said it, right? Like, Gemini, really getting to know every single person. Libra, really getting to share my energy with that person. And then now I'm on top at Aquarius, which is my rising sign, really looking at how does it all come together. That's really cool. All right, so back to Freud. So yeah, he was saying, like, it's just the tip of the iceberg. We don't know that much about the inner world. Let's dive into it. So he was the first one. And then, this is what I really loved too, was that he was saying that the role of dreams, he thought that the unconscious couldn't be studied because it was individual. It was like if we each had like our own little cone of subconscious individually. And then that's when Jung came in and he was like, no, actually, it's not a cup of the ocean. Like, it's actually, there's a whole ocean. Like, you're just looking at the cup of water, but there's actually so much more out there. And the way that Jung was able to do that was by looking at dreams, that these archetypes, these things that just, these symbols that just kept coming over and over and over again, that he's like, no, like, they're not looking at their own individual cup, they're looking at into the ocean, and that's how they're getting these dreams. But anyway, so this is what Freud said. This is on page 40. It says that Freud describes them as being, in essence, the hallucinatory fulfillment of a forbidden wish. So if you have a sex dream about somebody, then, like, it's like a forbidden, it's like a little desire that you secretly wanted it, when it probably didn't have anything to do with them. It was just like what was there. But I had, like, in growing up, like in school, I would it wouldn't be sex dreams, but like one time in middle school, I had this dream about a guy who I like never liked. Like, he was, not that he was weird or anything, like he was fine, but like I just wasn't attracted to him until I had this dream. And then the next day going into school, I was like really giddy around him. And I'm like, what? Like, I actually like him? Like, it was like this whole thing in my head in middle school that came because of a dream. And then it happened again in high school. But at that point I had already thought about liking him, and I didn't. So then when I had that dream, I was like, okay, like I just kind of like brushed it off. But that middle school one, that one really tripped me up for the longest, because I thought, like, Freud thought that your dream is like a forbidden wish, that like somewhere deep in the subconscious, some part of me wanted to like this guy, when that really wasn't the case. It was probably more of like an attribute that I thought of that person that was being reflected back to me, which is what we'll get into with Jung. Jung also says that when you're dreaming about a ship and crew on the ship, and then there's the ocean, if you have a dream like that, it could be anything, you know, you're at the store, you're at the classroom, I don't know, but just that every single part about a dream, that they're all you. So it's not just the people that are in your dreams that are you, it's also like the place, the setting, everything about it is all you. So if you're having dreams about cars, that's just representing you. That's crazy. So I have known so, how do I say this? This last year, so many people in my life who had prominent Capricorn placements have had car troubles. And I never understood why. And it just all clicked to me right now, because when I was saying right now about that every single part of a dream is you, and so then when I said car, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have had a lot of dreams about cars. And it was so weird because actually right now, before I started recording, I was sitting up there in my car. I was putting my shoes on to come down here, and it felt like how it felt in my dream, where that's where I was, and then all of a sudden, because the car was still on, but I had like put it in park, I had put the emergency brake on and everything. And in my dream though, even with those two things on, the car still like backed up into traffic, and we didn't crash though. He just kept like driving, and like, whoa, that's weird. But yeah, like I was protected. So right now when I was sitting up there in the car and I felt that, I was like, oh, so the car is like the masculine side of me, because I was just finished reading this one about anima and animus. And so if you don't know what that is, let me tell you about it, because it like blew my mind. So I was talking about, with grounded spirits, about balancing the feminine and the masculine, right? So with the feminine and the masculine, it means that me as a female has masculine parts of me. And what trauma does is that it brings those masculine parts out of me and like serves as like a shield, like it protects me, it like puts me in glass, if you will. Like I'm so precious that my masculine energy has to come out and protect me, because something along the way of my life, I didn't feel safe by the masculine energy in my life, maybe, I don't know. And so I had to have this like protective covering. But I don't think that it was like my dad's fault or anything like that. Like I have a great dad, like he's amazing. But I think it could also just be like living in the patriarchy, like things like that, where you don't feel safe in the masculine energy around you. So I don't think that I'm alone in feeling this like protective self. Oh my gosh, I'm not alone, because everybody self-sabotages. And if not everybody, a lot of people self-sabotage. Yeah, so it's really just so we live in the patriarchy because we don't trust each other, we don't trust ourselves, we don't trust anybody or anything, and so we feel like we need to have this protective self over it. Interesting. So anyway, all of that to say that that's the animus that's living inside of me, because I'm a woman. So if you're a man, then you have the anima living inside of you, which is the female part of you. And I think like I do think that it'll only go like that. So if you're trans or part of the LGBTQ plus community, then what it is that there's like an imbalance, and that's why you don't feel like you're in the right body. And it's because your anima or animus, that they expanded too much, they grew too big outside of you, where they make you feel like you're not you anymore, like you had to like lose control in a way. Interesting. This is all just like coming right now, just from like reading this, and I'm just talking about it, like figuring it out. We're figuring it out together. So that's what I was saying, like with the logo, like I want it to be like a community where we can all just share our information of our inner world, and I feel like that's how we're gonna like piece everything up together. So now going into this next part. Oh, okay, this part. Sorry, I just had to catch up here. So I am on the Freud page here on page 40. This is of this book. So what Freud was saying with dreams were that they are the guardians of sleep and not its disturbers. And so what he was saying is that it's kind of like, like that glass that I was just talking about. So that the only thing that could penetrate that glass to get to the real you are dreams. Because whether we believe in the spiritual or not, we're gonna have dreams. And even people that say, I don't remember, I never remember my dreams, there's always that one chance or that one dream that you do remember. And so if you don't remember your dreams, that's just your protective self not letting you have that information because it's scared for you. It's saying like, oh, if you have, sorry, there's a fly or something, that if you have these, if I give you this information, you won't know how to function, is basically what your protective self is saying. Yeah. I'm thinking about like all of the dreams that I've had that really did scare me. And oh my gosh, that's what nightmares are. That it's information where you're like, I'm ready for the information. Give me the information, universe. Then you have a nightmare and it's like you weren't ready for that information. That's the information that will come across as negative, even if they're giving you the universe is giving you the information nicely, you're still going to see it as negative, and that's when it turns into a nightmare because those are your fears. And that's why they always say in all of these books, and this one and my other ones, that you have to confront your nightmares and your dreams because that's where it's safe to. It may not be safe in the real world to go up to a lion if the lion's chasing after you. Even though I saw a video and I did post it on my Instagram on Granite Spirits, that there was this lion chasing after like a buffalo or something, and then they crossed this road, and then the buffalo turns around and like stomps up, and then the lion like cowers down and runs away. I was like, what? Like they can do that? And it all just goes with what I said last time when in my dream, when I was like cornered, I couldn't do anything, and then I hear the voice say like, just use your fire blasters. I'm like, what, I have fire blasters? Like that doesn't make sense. And then the voice said like, oh, you're in a dream. Like this dream completely changed my life, so I'm going to be talking about it a lot. I brought it up last time. I just did an interview on a polymath's place, so you should go check that out. I think it comes out in 2 weeks or something. But I said it there too, that it completely revolutionized the way that I think, because it's like I see other people achieving my dreams, so what's stopping me? Oh, like I think they're too good and I can't do it. Like no, if they're my dreams, it's because I am meant to do it. And it's about switching that mindset and knowing that you can be that buffalo and stand up for your dreams. And all circling back to the nightmares, that nightmares are a safe space for you to confront your dreams so that you can get out of this protective glass and that you won't need it anymore. You'll be able to just know based on yourself. So something that I was thinking about earlier was, we say that the gut is like the second brain, or that like the heart wants what it wants. Yet it's the mind, the one that makes all the decisions. So what I was thinking about was, with soul, mind, body, and spirit, what would be where? So I'm saying that the soul is the heart. So the heart wants what it wants. That means that it's your soul wanting this thing. And it could be because they are soulmates, or it could be that you need to cross this bridge and this is the obstacle. You need to learn from this person so that you can get over here to your soulmate. That's why it's like very heart-based. The mind is the mind, right? So very logical, thinks everything through, maybe overthinks. And then we have spirit. So spirit comes, you can't see it, but spirit comes from the solar plexus. In my Carlos Castaneda books, he describes it as these like light fibers that come out of the abdomen and can hold on to things. But I think it's just about love. And your gut will tell you if something is love or if something is fear, if something is real, if something is inauthentic or fake. Your gut will just know. Interesting. So that even goes for like if you're a drinking diet versus not diet, you can tell when something is fake. And you can do that same thing with a person. You can tell if somebody is fake. That all comes from the gut. That's all spirit. Like analyzing everything around you. And I feel like that's where trust comes from. And that's why a lot of people have tummy issues when it's talking about fat, or people are talking about like, oh, you eat too much and so it's around the midsection. But what if it has nothing to do with that? What if it's just about like shining your light because the light comes from the midsection? That's interesting. And so then that would be the gut. The gut can figure this out based on the energies around and based on that light. And so yes, it is about like shining your light and like being the center of attention and all of that stuff, but I think it's also just about loving. Like love is light from Twitches, you know? Yeah. All right. Oh, so that's what I was saying with Freud and the dreams. So that the dreams are the guardians of sleep and not its disturbers. So it's only going to give you dreams that are things that you can handle and giving you little messages about like what decisions you should make, where you should go next, things along that. So this book, Learn to Dream, it's a dream journal that I created, and it is so meticulous. Like you will know everything about your dream. I have you title your dream, come like talk about the emotions that you had, any thoughts that you might have had about the dream or when you first wake up, and you track it, and you get so much good data that you will become not only a better dreamer, but you'll also become a lucid dreamer by the end of it. But yeah, so that's what Freud thought about dreams, that they're only going to show you what it thinks that you can handle, and that you shouldn't be afraid of your dreams because they do hold like the key to this inner world, but that it's hard to how do I say this? Well, Freud was saying that it was like that everything was negative, and so everything is hard. So it's like hard to like have these dreams because some part of you is living this. So that's like my own theory about dreams, is that they are like different timelines that I could have been in, or like that the other me's, if you're thinking like with Rick and Morty, like the citadel of Ricks, that is how I picture it in my head too. Like there are other Lauras living around the world that are experiencing these, and my dreams are like our connections. Like they're having dreams about this right now. And what's weird is that that's how like premonition dreams work too, because if you like the dream, you could like opt, and even if you don't like it, maybe if you just have like an intense feeling towards it, or maybe it's your soul wanting to let you know beforehand because it is going to happen, you have no control over it. But when you have a dream and then it's a premonition dream, it's going to happen in real life, you could opt in, or like I said, the other reasons. Okay, moving on. So we have Jung here. He was born in 1875 and died in 1961. And he said that the general function of dreams is to restore our psychological balance. So like with this whole masculine feminine energy thing, that in our dreams they might be hyper masculine or hyper feminine in order to balance what we are in the real world. But what I'm saying is that what if we helped out? You know, like what if we worked on it on the outer world, so then our dreams could take us to the next level, with all what we want, not with all of these detours that we need to learn and all this trauma that we need to unpack and all these, you know, all these other things. Like I just want to live. I just want to be happy. And I mean, like who doesn't? But the way that I see it, because people are like, oh, well, it's never going to end. But I see it like being sick and healthy. Like, are we all always dying? Yes. But can we still enjoy life and like dance to the grave? You know? Like it doesn't have to be that we're using our life and being sick. And I think that every sickness, every single disease, there is an inner world tied into it. So there's something that's happening in your inner world, and that's why you're sick on your outer world. And yeah, that's the whole thing, is how to balance that on the outer world, so then your inner world can be working on the next thing to make you love your life and live your dreams and feel free and happy, which is all about grounded spirits, right? We're learning how to ground ourselves so that we can have that dream life. Because who doesn't deserve their dream life? Like we have these dreams for a reason. So why don't we let ourselves have these dreams? Okay. Yeah, so basically that's what Jung was saying, that it's about restoring that inner balance and understanding that. We already talked about what he was talking about with the collective unconscious, and that's what he's talking about here that it's the largest and deepest area of the psyche, and that we're all connected because we're all human. But I would even go as far to say that animals dream. Like, you see it with your pets, you know, their little paws be moving, you know. So I think that every single spirit, so all of these plants that like are spirits, because anything alive has a spirit. Actually, I would say that every single thing, even this phone, even a car, even a rock. Da Vinci thought that rocks had spirits too. And you even see it like in Frozen, you know, like they are animated, they have a spirit, like, and everything everything has a vibe is basically what I'm trying to say at with spirit. And so again, that's where it comes from, the solar plexus, and it shoots outward. It's all spirit. Okay, so now we're going to briefly go over the archetypes of Jung, something that I've been saying we're going to do the whole episode. We're finally here. And with these archetypes, I'm going to briefly describe them, and then we're going to be going into them a lot more in depth by using this book. They talk about them briefly what I read so far was very brief about the archetypes, but they go into it at length. So I'm going to be reading this book this week, so then we can talk about it. So if you wanted to check it out, we could talk about it together. That would be cool. It's called Mother Peace by Vicky Noble. I'll also post it on my Instagram at Grounded Spirits, so you can check it out there. So the archetypes. The first one is the persona. So it's basically, who do you see yourself as? So what is the mask that you put on to feel accepted in the world? And for me, it was always the researcher. I was very much in that role because I didn't want to like share all of this inner world, all of this like astrology and tarot. Oh my gosh, I forgot to pull cards today. Let me do that first, actually, before we go into the archetypes, because it'll help us with it. Because that Mother Peace book, it's about tarot, and so it gets into all of those, all of the archetypes of tarot and how they all kind of came about. And with the Jung archetypes, he was also an astrologer. A lot of people don't know that, but he was, and in that, it was all just archetypes for him, which is how I see it too, that every single zodiac sign has the archetypes. And so my other podcast is called Ila Radio, ILA, and for Ila Radio, I'm looking at the different subjects to really like get down to the nitty gritty, because Grounded Spirits is more free flowing, like whatever comes up, comes up. But for Ela, it's more of, I used all the subjects, I divided it up into the 12 months, and I paired them with the zodiac of the month. So right now in August, we're doing performing arts, literature, and leadership. And so I've been going to museums almost every day and trying to learn about these three subjects through these exhibits. So if you want to check that out, you can go to Ela Institute on TikTok is where I post the videos for the museums. Ela Radio is where I'm going to be having guests on that are experts in these three fields, and I'm going to use astrology to understand like what led them to pick this field, how did they end up here, basically, and does their astrology have a role in that? All right, time to shuffle our cards. So what I'm doing here with that book, that Mother Peace, is saying that, a lot fell out. That Mother Peace book are talking about the different archetypes and understanding, but she's going one by one with the tarot cards. So it'll be really cool to see what they say about all these, because I mentioned last time that I'm new at tarot, and that's why I wanted to incorporate it into the show, because we do focus on spirituality, on astrology, on things like that, and tie it to like outer world academic knowledge. But I have had these cards for a long time, but I just only use them on occasion, and when I do use them, I put it into ChatGPT, or I have tarot books that will just tell me, or read the little pamphlet that comes with it. But I really wanted to get to know it for myself, so that's why I picked up that book. Another reason for you to read Mother Peace. I haven't read it yet, so I can't even like say, but anyway. All right, let's see what we got. So we got the Queen of Swords. Swords is an air sign, and it's for knowledge, you know? So I got the blank card. A One of Swords. So again, using that knowledge. The Tower card. So completely demolishing completely demolishing the way that we view the outer world in connection to the inner world. And then we have the Page of Wands, I believe. I don't know too much about that, but I think the whole reason why we pulled them was to know the archetype, so I guess we're gonna do it. All right, so we have the Page of Wands. Here they call it the Knave. Companion, falling in love, royalty, and help. I said royalty, it's loyalty. But this is like very much like Leo energy, and you can kind of see it on like the, see how it glows? It's like the spirit coming out. So it's that whole spirit thing I was talking about earlier. So that actually honestly pretty much, that does help. Oh, actually this helps out a lot. This is how we're going to do the archetypes. That's really cool. Okay. So with this one, the archetype is the shadow. And I think that also kind of goes a little bit with tower. But we're gonna talk about with this guy, the Knave of Wands, because having that support and that loyalty and that love come out of us. My gosh, the flies are just coming. Yeah, I said falling in love. Is the shadow, because we have shadows. Like you can see the shadow right here, like from where the sun is, and then where this like hillside is that's covering the sun on this side. The reason why there's this distinction is because the sun, like the light is outside of the self. So if the light was here, I would have a shadow behind me. But if the light comes from within, then there would be no shadows. And so like, let's say that this tree suddenly became the sun, and it's right here in the center. There would be no shadow around it. And so that's what the Page of Wands is trying to tell us, that we can overcome the shadow, the archetype that that Jung came up with. And people say this all the time, oh, I have to work on my shadow, I have to do my shadow work. All that is just loving every single part of yourself and being loyal to yourself and becoming a companion to yourself. So again, with that anima animus thing, it's loving all the different sides of yourself, so that you can just love yourself and just be yourself. And then once you are yourself, then all your dreams are going to come true. Isn't that crazy? It's just about becoming your most authentic self, and then your dreams are just like handed to you on a silver platter. That's insane. But it's true. Like, I'm literally in the process of doing it. That's cool. So then we have the Tower card. So again, the Tower just means that everything is falling apart to put itself together in a better and more wonderful way. And so let's read what it says here about Tower. It says breakdown of balance. Okay, so the breakdown of balance, of mistaken convictions, of exile, or loss that was gained through evil. So again, this could be like the shadow part, but it could also be like with the anima animus thing, which are two archetypes of Jung's theory. So actually, I think that is it, because look, here you have the woman, and here you have the man, and they're both coming down. All right, so now we have the swords, and the ace means triumph, power, conquest, extolling of strength. So I would say that this one is the Great Father. So like I said earlier, we have the Prince, the Father, and the Hermit. So you could even see it on his little hat here. So it looks like the phoenix feather. And then this looks like olive, or like laurels. So laurels are given to like the victory, and it's on a crown, you know. So this is like Sky Daddy, if you will. where God is supposed to be this benevolent being, and to take care of us and to provide for us and make us feel safe. But the thing is that but look at, like, it's like with force. And I think that's like what I was saying at the beginning with all of this nature stuff, that nature wants us to love her for her. And actually in this book, she was saying that Winston Churchill, so this is the Mother Peace book again, she was saying that they, in order to keep us safe, they have to be like a growling animal, whereas a woman would feel safe by knowing that her energy could change anybody and anything. And what's really cool is that men have to step into that feminine energy as well. And it has to be socially acceptable for them to do so. So that is the archetype of the father. And then for the Great Mother, we have the Queen of Swords. So let's see what it says about her. Strength, sterility. I don't really know what that means, but oh, and it says crying. So like Mother Nature, she's crying right now because she wants to have people come to her for her. And you could even see it. Actually, it looks like my logo I was saying earlier. There's the tree, there's the water, there's a little mountain. And so that's like what she wants. And look, she's just sending her energy back to the earth and just crying, hoping that people will love her for her and people will come back to her. And you could even see with the light, with the things that the page had as well. So actually that was really cool that I pulled these cards that helped us understand the archetypes for what they are. In coming weeks, we will probably go deeper into it as I continue reading Mother Peace. But for now, I want to pull this last card before we go to understand dreams a little bit better. I got these dream cards and they have been tremendous in the way that they have helped me understand my dreams better. I've been having a lot of weird dreams lately of like multiple people. Like there's just like so many people, and sometimes it's a party, sometimes it's just like, well, I guess anything, any kind of, if there's like so many people, like I'm talking about like hundreds, then there has to be a party, you know, or get together would be the same thing. So I guess I've been having a lot of dreams about parties, but they're not necessarily all good. They're not like all like celebrating. It's all like, it's like very moody, if that makes sense. Right off the bat, a card came up, surrender. So, and again with the water, look at that, how cool. So in order to balance this feminine energy that we have, that we need to surrender and listen to our intuition, listen to ourselves, and just love ourselves. Let's see if any other cards come out. We'll do it one more time, and then if nothing comes out, then I guess we just have surrender. So yeah, surrender. That's all that we need to do, and stop trying so hard. Stop trying to be who we think we should be, when I think everybody would be so much happier if you were just you and if they were just them. But the thing is that people are afraid to lose friends, or even family members, and I've lost both. So, and not like physically, like nobody died or anything, but like to go from talking to somebody every single day to then talking to them like never for like 2 years. I've definitely experienced that, and you just have to keep doing you, and either you'll meet new people or the old ones will eventually come around. So with that, I leave you. Thank you so much for tuning in to Grounded Spirits Podcast. I'm your host, Laura Lynn, and here on the podcast, every single week, we dive into the inner world. We look at how can we be so grounded in who we are that we fly with ease. We just feel free. We can just express ourselves authentically. And the reverse. How can we have so much fun being ourselves, enjoying life? How can we do that? In a practical way, by not breaking the bank, by not having all of our ducks in a row. How can we have fun and the ducks will just suddenly appear? How do we trust that? That's what we really get into this show as well. All right, that was a long-winded way, but thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.